Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm wondering, have you ever picked up a ghost on a lonely desert highway? Maybe since I was a child, I've been naturally inquisitive, questioning anything and everything that didn't quite make sense as I grew. I poured countless hours into a number of conspiracy theories. Some of these theories, I believe in some of these theories. I don't, but some of them I do. Here I'll be studying the evidence for and against all of history's mysteries, doing the work, so you don't have to, but you really should do it on your own, like check sources and all that. Okay, on today's episode, the Phantom Hitchhiker. Phantom Hitchhiker, well, yeah, it's board time. Phantom Hitchhiker. Before I even get into this one, I'll admit it's a weird one. And while I'm a little iffy on this one, I think there's some really compelling stuff here. So I'll let you decide, basically. And this is kind of a catch-all. The Phantom Hitchhiker is a number of different urban legends and reported encounters that all, at least in their own way, suggest that there are spirits or entities manifesting along desolate roads, allegedly appearing. To unsuspecting drivers, they seem real. They seem human. They get into your car, and then they vanish without a trace, leaving witnesses questioning their sanity. Some people think it's ghosts, some people think it's interdimensional beings, and some think, and you're going to find this one in most conspiracy theories and Steven Spielberg movies, Aliens. It's also worth noting that some of these stories have cultural and religious significance that deserves respect, and I just want everyone to be aware. But whatever it may be, if it may be, there is some compelling information to support the idea all the way back in the yellowed pages of the annals of history. So people have been traveling roads. There's always been that one story about the mysterious stranger who appeared and disappeared. You know, phantom travelers, if you will. In ancient Roman times, there were tales of spirits along the Appian Way appearing to travelers at night, seeking passage to the underworld. In medieval Europe, stories circulated of spectral figures on horseback vanishing in a mist along country lanes. And in early American folklore, Native American tribes spoke of spirit walkers who would appear to guide or warn travelers on dangerous journeys. So basically, if there are roads around, there's someone or something appearing on them. But what we're talking about isn't as ancient as those tales. The Phantom Hitchhiker that many people claim to have encountered today would have to be a lot more modern. Well, kinda. The greatest evidence for the existence of the Phantom Hitchhiker in modern day all comes down to one of the weirdest places I've ever researched: the desert highways of the American Southwest. Oh, it's board time. Desert highways, 2 underlines in one day. Aren't we lucky? The most desolate stretches of road in America. These highways cut through Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and California, opened throughout the early to mid-1900s. As America expanded westward, these roads became lifelines for travelers. But they also became something else entirely, something unexplainable. The stories began accumulating in the 1940s, way after the roads were built, and way more frequently than anyone expected. The final count was some 2,000 documented reports over their 70-year history, which, like, I don't know about you, but to me, that's a noticeable amount of encounters. Dollar bills. Y'all wait, no, not that. And for being some of the least traveled roads in America compared to major interstates like I-95 or Route 66 in 2018, these desert highways accounted for over 60% of all Phantom Hitchhiker reports in the entire country. They're over twice as likely to produce paranormal encounters as any other roads in America. So if you're not the most traveled highways, even in this country, what are you doing with all these ghost desert roads? Well, one of the highway patrol officers alleged that the reason for so many reports in the first place was because 5 major accident sites existed along these routes, as well as a vast network of unmarked graves from westward expansion. 5 major sites. Why would that be along these specific highways? Some people theorize that these could be anything from residual hauntings where traumatic deaths replay themselves to interdimensional portals opening along ley lines to government experiments with consciousness transfer technology being tested on unsuspecting travelers underneath, or I guess alongside, the desert highways. In the future, there have been some explanations for the reports, such as heat mirages and exhausted drivers hallucinating. But okay, weird stuff, right? But nothing suggests a Phantom Hitchhiker specifically. Right, wrong. The most famous case was documented on March 19th, 1981, with a police report filed in Needles, California, which is still on file today. The report details a trucker's encounter and includes the testimony from multiple witnesses. The driver picked up a young woman in a white dress who asked to be taken to the next town. She gave specific directions to a house on the outskirts. When they arrived, she had vanished from the locked truck cab. On top of that, the driver went to the house she'd indicated, and the elderly woman who answered said that was her daughter, and she'd been killed on that highway. In 1955, have you seen this case, buddy? This case, one, contains what appears to be photographic evidence of the woman taken by another driver years earlier, and a letter from the mother describing her daughter's death. Speaking of evidence, people driving through the desert highways at night will be greeted by a stretch of road known as the Vanishing Mile, where over 30 separate Phantom Hitchhiker encounters have been reported before anyone can properly investigate. The area seems to shift, making it impossible to locate the exact spot. Many believe it's a thin place where the veil between worlds is weakest and suggest that multiple realities overlap. Throw it on the board. Oh yeah, and did we talk about the pattern? This is going to blow your freaking mind compared to some of the other famous haunted locations in the country, like the Winchester Mystery House, Eastern State Penitentiary, and the Myrtles Plantation. A lot of people think that the desert highway encounters follow a specific pattern. Let's just do a little test here. This is a typical ghost story with random encounters. This is a residual haunting with repeated scenes, and then the Phantom Hitchhiker. Look at that. If you ask me, odd pattern, though paranormal researchers have said that the encounters follow this pattern because they represent something entirely different from traditional hauntings, something we don't fully understand yet. Proponents of the Phantom Hitchhiker phenomenon also maintain just how strange it was when in 2011 a paranormal investigation team scheduled to film a documentary about these encounters had their equipment malfunction simultaneously at the exact moment they reached the Vanishing Mile. Every camera, every recorder, every piece of electronic equipment failed at once. But why, though? The greatest argument against any of this meaning anything or matching at all is the question of why. If Phantom Hitchhikers did exist, would they follow such a predictable pattern, making themselves obvious for everyone to potentially encounter? Some people argue that it's just desert travelers experiencing dehydration and heat exhaustion, maybe even shared cultural narratives, creating false memories. Get back some of that rational thinking, you know. The desert highway tourism websites also have some fun with the legends, with images of ghostly figures and roadside attraction signs, suggesting you might encounter something supernatural. Ultimately, the Phantom Hitchhiker mystery kind of just doesn't work for skeptics because there's no clear physical evidence as to what the Phantom Hitchhiker would even be. Is it ghosts? Is it aliens? Is it mass hallucination? It's kind of like how Bigfoot believers agree that something is out there, but don't really agree on what exactly. I'm not a Bigfoot hunter for the last time, a little bit of a head scratcher at the end of the day. But wait, there's more, because the Phantom Hitchhiker phenomenon isn't just limited to the American Southwest. Oh no, this thing is global. And that's where it gets really interesting. See, similar stories exist in virtually every culture around the world, and they all share remarkably similar details, despite these cultures having no contact with each other when the stories originated. That's weird, right? Like really weird. In South Africa, there's the story of the Union Building ghost, a woman in old-fashioned clothing who appears along the N3 highway asking for rides to Uniondale. When drivers turn to speak to her, she's gone. In Japan, there's the tale of the Kokisei Kana, who appears on rural roads asking drivers if they think she's beautiful before revealing a horrific secret. In the Philippines, there are countless reports of the White Lady of Balit Drive who appears to drivers and causes accidents when they swerve to avoid her. In England, the A3 highway near Burpham has so many reports of a Phantom Hitchhiker that police have investigated multiple times, finding nothing. In Hawaii, the Pali Highway is famous for encounters with the night marchers, ancient Hawaiian warriors whose spirits march along old paths. You see what I'm getting at here? This isn't just an American thing. This isn't even just a modern thing. These stories span continents, centuries, and cultures, and they all describe essentially the same experience. A figure appears on a road, seems real, gets into a vehicle, or walks alongside it, and then vanishes, leaving the witness confused and often terrified. The consistency is what gets me. Like, if these were just random hallucinations or made-up stories, wouldn't there be more variation? Wouldn't different cultures describe completely different phenomena, but they don't. They describe the same thing over and over again. Now let's get into the really compelling cases, because there are some that are just impossible to explain away with rational thinking. And believe me, I've tried. I want these to have normal explanations because the alternative is frankly unsettling. But some of these